The conference room fell silent when Marcus Webb walked through the glass doors. Not the comfortable silence of a Monday morning meeting about to begin, but the thick, suffocating quiet that happens when everyone knows something terrible is about to unfold. 14 colleagues sat around the mahogany table, their faces a mix of curiosity and dread. They had been summoned for what was supposed to be a quarterly review presentation. Instead, they were about to witness something far more memorable. A man in a charcoal suit stood at the head of the table, his leather briefcase open, a manila folder in his hands. He was perhaps 50 years old, with silver hair swept back and the kind of practiced smile that came from years of delivering bad news for a living. Marcus recognized him immediately, though they had never met. Richard Pemberton, the divorce attorney whose billboards dotted the highway with aggressive taglines like "When Marriage Ends," "We win and no mercy, just results." "This is Marcus Webb Pemberton," announced to the room, as if introducing a performer. His voice carried the weight of authority and just a hint of theatrical pleasure. "Marcus, you have been served." He extended the folder across the table. Nobody moved to take it. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Someone's coffee cup clinked against a saucer. Marcus remained standing in the doorway, his laptop bag still hanging from his shoulder. He looked at Pemberton, then at his colleagues, then back at the lawyer. His expression revealed nothing. "Take it," Pemberton said, his smile widening slightly. "These are divorce proceedings initiated by your wife, Jennifer Webb. She is filing on grounds of irreconcilable differences, emotional abandonment, and constructive desertion." The words hung in the air like smoke. Marcus could see Jennifer's strategy immediately. She was not just ending their marriage. She was destroying his reputation in the process, right here in front of the people he worked with every day. Pemberton continued, seemingly energized by the silence. "My client is seeking full custody of your 2 children, the marital home, 50% of all assets including your retirement accounts and stock options, and spousal support in the amount of $8,000 per month." A few gasps rippled through the room. $8,000 a month. That number would spread through the office by lunch. Marcus finally stepped forward. He set his laptop bag down carefully on the table and reached for the folder. His hands were steady. When he opened it, he scanned the first page with the kind of calm that comes from expecting exactly what you are seeing. Pemberton was not finished. He clearly enjoyed an audience. "I should also inform you that my client has documented extensive evidence of your neglect and emotional cruelty. She has witness statements, journal entries spanning 3 years, and correspondence that demonstrates a pattern of behavior that the court will find deeply troubling." Marcus looked up from the papers. "Is that everything?" Pemberton blinked, momentarily thrown by the question. "I'm sorry," Marcus repeated himself, his tone unchanged. "Is that everything you came here to say?" The lawyer recovered quickly, straightening his tie. "Yes, that covers the service of papers. You have 30 days to respond through your own attorney. I would advise you to secure representation quickly. My client is quite determined." Marcus nodded slowly, then he reached into his laptop bag. For a moment, Pemberton tensed, but Marcus only withdrew a plain white envelope. It was sealed, slightly thick, as if it contained more than just a letter. "Since you are here," Marcus said, handing the envelope across the table, "would you mind giving this to Jennifer? Save me a trip." Pemberton took the envelope reflexively, frowning at it. "What is this?" "Just some documents she will want to see," Marcus replied. Before things go any further, the lawyer turned the envelope over in his hands, suspicious now. "If this is some kind of threat, or it is not a threat," Marcus interrupted, his voice still maddeningly calm. It is information. Very important information that Jennifer seems to have forgotten about. I think once she sees what is inside, she might want to reconsider her approach." Pemberton's jaw tightened. He did not like being off balance, especially in front of an audience he had been playing 2 moments before. "Mr. Webb, I don't appreciate." "You will want to look at those before you file anything else," Marcus continued, speaking over him now. "Trust me, it will save everyone a lot of time and money, especially Jennifer." The 2 men stared at each other across the conference table. Pemberton's practiced smile had vanished entirely. He tucked the envelope into his briefcase with a sharp snap. "I'll pass this along," he said curtly. "But I should warn you, whatever games you think you are playing, my client has been preparing for this moment for a very long time. She has covered every angle." "I am sure she thinks so," Marcus replied. Pemberton gathered his things. clearly eager to leave now that the power dynamic had shifted in a direction he could not control. He nodded curtly to the room and strode toward the door. Before he left, he turned back one last time. 30 days, Mr. Webb. The clock is ticking. Then he was gone, leaving Marcus standing at the conference table with 14 stunned colleagues and a folder full of papers that would change everything. Marcus took a breath and looked around the room. "I apologize for that," he said quietly. "This was not how I wanted you all to find out. If we could keep this situation private, I would appreciate it." But even as he said it, he knew privacy was impossible now. Pemberton had made sure of that. The public humiliation was part of Jennifer's strategy, a way to isolate him, to make him feel exposed and vulnerable before the real battle even began. What his wife did not know, what her expensive lawyer could not have anticipated, was that Marcus had been preparing to, not for months, but for over a year. And the envelope now sitting in Richard Pemberton's briefcase contained something that would turn Jennifer's carefully constructed case into rubble. But that revelation would come later. For now, Marcus simply collected his things and left the conference room, walking past the stairs and whispered conversations that would define his workplace for weeks to come. The game had begun. Jennifer Webb had no idea she had already lost. 3 years earlier, things had been different. Not perfect, but different. Marcus and Jennifer had been married for 11 years at that point, with 2 children, Ethan, who was 9, and Sophia, who was 7. They lived in a 4-bedroom colonial in a neighborhood where every lawn looked the same, and every family seemed to have the same carefully curated problems. Jennifer had been a marketing executive before the kids were born. Smart, ambitious, the kind of person who could walk into a room and instantly command attention. After Sophia arrived, she had decided to stay home, a choice that seemed right at the time, but had gradually become a source of tension. Marcus worked as a project manager for a tech consulting firm. Steady hours, decent pay, enough to maintain their lifestyle. He was not flashy or charismatic like Jennifer had been in her career days, but he was reliable, or so he thought. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday evening in October, 3 years ago. Marcus had come home from work to find Jennifer in the kitchen, phone in hand, laughing at something on the screen. When he asked what was funny, she had turned the phone face down and said nothing, just something from the moms group. It was a small moment barely worth remembering. But over the following weeks, there were more small moments. Jennifer angling her phone away when he walked into a room, taking calls in the garage or the backyard, smiling at text messages she never shared. Marcus was not naturally suspicious. He believed in trust, in giving people the benefit of the doubt. But humans are pattern recognition machines, and his brain began assembling the pieces whether he wanted it to or not. By December of that year, Jennifer had started going to the gym 5 times a week. She bought new workout clothes, expensive ones, and began talking about a personal trainer named Derek, who was helping her reach her fitness goals. She came home from these sessions glowing, energized in a way Marcus had not seen in years. "Is everything okay?" he asked one night as she scrolled through her phone at the dinner table, barely touching her food. "Fine," she replied without looking up. "Why?" "You seem distracted lately." "I'm not distracted, Marcus. I'm just tired of the same conversations every single day." The sharpness in her tone caught him off guard. They had disagreements before, every couple did, but this felt different, personal. "What conversations?" he asked carefully. Jennifer finally looked at him, and something in her expression made his stomach tighten. "These ones," she said. "Where you ask me what is wrong and I have to explain that nothing is wrong, I am just living my life. Can I do that? Can I just live without being interrogated?" "It was not interrogating you," Marcus replied. "I was asking if you were okay." "Well, I am fine. Perfect, actually." But she was not fine, and he knew it, and she knew he knew it. Lies sat between them like a third presence at the table. After that night, they stopped having even those conversations. They became roommates who occasionally acknowledged each other's existence. Marcus threw himself into work, telling himself that Jennifer just needed space, that this phase would pass. He focused on the kids, helping with homework, coaching Ethan's soccer team, reading to Sophia before bed. He kept the house running, the bills paid, the lawn mowed. Jennifer kept slipping further away. By spring, she had lost 20 pounds and changed her hair, going from her natural brown to blonde highlights that made her look younger, more vibrant. She started going out on weekends, girls' nights with friends Marcus had never met. Coming home past midnight smelling of wine and perfume. The gym sessions with Derek increased to 6 times a week, sometimes 7. One evening in April, Marcus was putting away laundry when he found a receipt in Jennifer's gym bag. Dinner for 2 at an expensive steakhouse downtown. The date was from 2 weeks earlier, a Tuesday night, when Jennifer had told him she was at a PTA meeting. His hands shook as he stared at the receipt. To filet mignons, a bottle of wine, chocolate lava cake. $147. The kind of meal you do not eat alone. He could have confronted her right then. Part of him wanted to. But something stopped him. Some instinct that told him confrontation would only accelerate whatever was happening, push it underground where he could not see it. Instead, Marcus did something he never imagined himself doing. He began to pay attention, real attention, to the details of Jennifer's life that she assumed he ignored. He noticed that she only used her phone when he was not looking. He observed that she had started deleting her text message history every night. He saw that certain contacts in her phone had generic names, just initials or words like trainer or gym. He started checking credit card statements, not obsessively, but regularly. More restaurant charges on nights she claimed to be at book clubs or yoga classes. Purchases from Victoria's Secret and Sephora that he never saw her wear at home. And then one night in May, everything changed. Marcus had gotten up at 2 in the morning to use the bathroom. On his way back to bed, he noticed light coming from under the door of the home office. Jennifer was in there, sitting at the desk with her laptop open, talking on the phone in a low voice. He stood in the hallway and listened. He was not proud of it, but he did it anyway. "I know, baby, I know," Jennifer was saying, her voice soft, and intimate in a way it had not been with Marcus in over a year. "I miss you too. This is just so hard pretending everything is normal." A pause while the person on the other end spoke. "No, he does not suspect anything," Jennifer continued. "He's completely oblivious. Honestly, I think part of him is relieved that I am not bothering him anymore." Another pause, longer this time. "I am serious about this, Derek. I have already talked to an attorney. I am just waiting for the right moment. Once the kids are settled after the school year ends, I will tell him, and then we can finally be together." Marcus stood frozen in the dark hallway, his heart pounding so hard he was sure Jennifer would hear it through the door. Derek, the personal trainer. The man his wife had been spending 6, sometimes 7 days a week with. The man she was planning a future with while still living in Marcus's house, sleeping in his bed, pretending they were a family. He wanted to burst through that door. He wanted to scream, to demand answers, to force Jennifer to acknowledge what she was doing. But that instinct was overridden by something else, something colder and more calculating. If Jennifer was talking to an attorney, if she was planning this, then she was preparing for war. And if Marcus confronted her now unprepared, he would lose. She would spin the narrative, claim he was controlling or suspicious or worse. She would make herself the victim. So instead, Marcus went back to bed and lay awake until sunrise, his mind racing through scenarios and possibilities. The next morning, he called in sick to work. As soon as Jennifer left for the gym, citing an early session with Derek, Marcus went into the home office and opened her laptop. He felt like a criminal. But criminals do not feel justified, and Marcus felt completely justified as he scrolled through Jennifer's emails, her search history, her documents folder. What he found made his blood run cold. Jennifer had not just talked to an attorney. She had hired Richard Pemberton 3 months earlier. There were emails going back to February, dozens of them, outlining strategy. Pemberton had advised her to document every argument, every moment of perceived neglect, every time Marcus came home late or missed a school event. He had told her to open a separate bank account and start moving money. Small amounts at first, just enough to establish a financial cushion without raising alarms. He had suggested she confide in friends and family about her unhappiness, building a network of witnesses who would testify to her suffering. And Jennifer had followed every instruction perfectly. There were journal entries, pages and pages of them, describing Marcus as emotionally distant, cold, more interested in work than his family. She painted herself as a devoted mother, trapped in a loveless marriage, with a man who barely acknowledged her existence. Some of it was true, or at least true-ish. Marcus had been focused on work. He had missed events sometimes. But the journal entries twisted every detail, removed all context, and built a narrative of systematic emotional abuse. He is never home, one entry read, and when he is, he barely speaks to me. It is like living with a ghost, the children notice. Ethan asked me last week why Daddy does not smile anymore. How do I explain that their father checked out of this family years ago? Marcus felt sick reading it. It's not because it was entirely false, but because it was false enough to be convincing, while containing just enough truth to seem credible. But the most damning discovery was in a folder labeled New Life. Inside were documents Jennifer had been preparing. I'll budget for her post-divorce life. Research on apartments near Derek's place. Even a draft email to her old employer about returning to work, referencing her newly single status and fresh start. She'd been planning this for months. While kissing the kids goodnight, while sitting across from Marcus at dinner, while lying next to him in bed. Every smile had been a lie. Every I love you had been a placeholder until she was ready to leave. And Pemberton's emails made it clear, the goal was not just to leave Marcus. It was to destroy him financially and socially. Take everything. The house, the kids, the money, leave him with nothing but blame and a reputation as the neglectful husband who drove his wife away. Marcus spent 4 hours that morning documenting everything. He took screenshots, copied files, saved emails. He uploaded it all to a secure cloud account that Jennifer did not know existed. When she came home from the gym, glowing and smiling, he was in the kitchen making lunch like nothing had happened. "How was your workout?" "Great," she replied, not meeting his eyes. "Derek is really pushing me lately." "That is good," Marcus said. "You look happy." And Jennifer smiled, the kind of smile that meant she was winning a game only she knew they were playing. But now Marcus knew too, and over the following months, he would play his own game, one move ahead of her at every turn. The first thing Marcus did was hire his own attorney, not someone flashy like Pemberton, but a woman named Angela Torres, who specialized in high-asset divorces and had a reputation for being ruthlessly thorough. "I need to be prepared," Marcus told her during their first meeting in a small office across town from where he worked. "My wife is planning to divorce me, but she does not know that I know yet. I need to understand what I am facing." Angela listened as he explained everything. The affair with Derek, the journal entries, Pemberton's strategy. She took notes in a leather-bound notebook, her expression neutral but her eyes sharp. When he finished, she set down her pen and looked at him directly. "Mr. Webb, I'm going to be very honest with you. Your wife has been building a strong case. Pemberton is one of the best in the state, and he has coached her well. If you walked into court right now, unprepared, you would likely lose the house, its primary custody, and pay substantial alimony." Marcus nodded. He had expected as much. "However," Angela continued, "you have something your wife does not know you have. Information. And in divorce proceedings, information is power. The question is, what do you want to do with it?" "I want to protect my kids," Marcus said without hesitation. "And I want the truth to come out. I am not interested in revenge, but I am not going to let her destroy my life with lies either." Angela smiled slightly. "Then we have work to do." Over the next 6 months, Marcus became someone he did not recognize. He documented everything with the precision of a detective building a case. He kept a detailed calendar of Jennifer's activities, cross-referencing her claimed whereabouts with credit card statements and gym check-in records. He discovered that Derek was not just her personal trainer. He was her boyfriend, and had been for over a year. They met at hotels on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, when Jennifer claimed to be having lunch with friends. They went to restaurants in neighboring towns where they thought they would not be recognized. Marcus hired a private investigator, a recommendation from Angela. The investigator, a former cop named Ray Martinez, was efficient and discreet. Within 2 weeks, he had photographs. Jennifer and Derek holding hands in a parking lot, kissing outside a movie theater, entering a hotel room together at 3 in the afternoon, and not leaving until after 6. Ray also discovered something Jennifer probably did not know. Derek was married. He had a wife and 2 kids of his own, living in a suburb an hour away. He had been lying to Jennifer, telling her he was divorced and starting fresh, when in reality, he was just as much a cheater as she was. Marcus almost felt sorry for her when he learned that. Almost. But the real breakthrough came in August. Jennifer had gotten sloppy, probably because she felt so confident in her plan. She left her laptop open one afternoon when she ran out to pick up Sophia from dance class. Marcus seized the opportunity. He found a new email thread with Pemberton. They were discussing timeline. Pemberton was advising Jennifer to wait until after the holidays to file. "It will look better to the judge," he wrote. "You will seem like someone who tried to make it work, who gave it one last chance. File in January. By then, you will have a full year of documented evidence." Jennifer had responded, "What about the money? I have been moving what I can, but if I wait until January, that is more time for him to notice." Pemberton's reply was chilling. "He won't notice. Men like your husband never do. They're too busy pretending everything is fine. Keep moving small amounts. By January, you will have enough to get started, and the court will make him cover the rest." Marcus read the exchange 3 times, feeling something dark and cold settle in his chest. They were not just planning to divorce him. They were planning to rob him while destroying his reputation in the process. He forwarded the entire email chain to his secure account and closed the laptop exactly as he had found it. That night at dinner, Jennifer talked about maybe taking the kids to see her parents over Christmas. It would be nice for them to spend time with their grandparents, she said with a smile that looked real enough to fool anyone who did not know better. "That sounds great," Marcus replied. "Family's important." Jennifer looked at him across the table, and for just a moment, something flickered in her expression. Guilt, maybe, or doubt. But it passed quickly, replaced by the pleasant mask she wore so well. Later, after the kids were in bed, Marcus sat in the dark living room and thought about what he was going to do. He could confront Jennifer now, show her what he knew, force her hand. But Angela had advised against it. "Let her file," Angela had said. "Let her walk into court thinking she has you cornered, and then we present everything. The affair, the financial manipulation, the coordinated strategy with her attorney. We turn her case inside out. The judge will see exactly who the wronged party really is." It was a risky strategy. It meant living with lies for several more months, maintaining the pretense of a marriage that was already dead. But Marcus trusted Angela's judgment. She had seen cases like this before. So he waited, played the role of oblivious husband while building his case in secret. He was kind to Jennifer, engaged with the kids, kept the household running. He never let on that he knew the truth. And Jennifer, confident in her deception, continued her double life. The gym sessions with Derek, the secret phone calls, the journal entries painting Marcus as the villain in her story. By December, Marcus had everything he needed. Financial records showing Jennifer had moved over $40,000 into a secret account. Photographs and timestamps proving her affair. Copies of her emails with Pemberton outlining their strategy. Witness statements from neighbors who had seen Derek's car at the house during the day when Marcus was at work. He even had something Jennifer did not know about. Derek's wife, Rachel, had discovered her husband's affair through her own investigation. When Ray tracked her down and explained what was happening, she had been furious. She agreed to provide her own evidence. Text messages and credit card statements showing Derek's spending on hotels and gifts for Jennifer. It was all there. A complete picture of betrayal, planning, and manipulation. Marcus had built his case like a fortress, with walls so high and thick that nothing Jennifer threw at it would make a dent. And then January arrived. It was a Tuesday morning when Jennifer told him she wanted to talk. They were sitting at the kitchen table, the kids at school, winter sunlight streaming through the windows. "Marcus," she began, her voice carefully measured, "I think we need to have an honest conversation about our marriage." He looked at her, waiting. Jennifer took a breath, the kind actors take before delivering an emotional monologue. "I have been thinking a lot over the past year, doing a lot of soul-searching, and I have realized that I am not happy. I haven't been happy for a long time." Marcus nodded slowly, his face showing concern. "I'm sorry to hear that. What can we do to fix it?" Jennifer shook her head, and he could see she had prepared for this, probably rehearsed it. "I don't think it can be fixed, Marcus. I think we have grown too far apart. You're focused on work, I'm focused on the kids. And somewhere along the way, we stopped being partners. We stopped being us." It was a good speech, reasonable, sad, but not angry. The kind of thing that would play well in court. "So what are you saying?" Marcus asked, though he knew exactly what she was saying. "I think we should separate," Jennifer said softly. I think it would be better for both of us. And for the kids. They can sense the tension. I do and want them growing up in a house where their parents are just going through the motions. Marcus let the words hang there. Then he said, "Have you talked to anyone about this? A counselor? Or I've talked to a therapist," Jennifer lied smoothly. "She has helped me realize that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let go." "What about the kids?" Marcus pressed. "Have you thought about how this would work?" Jennifer's expression turned serious, almost regretful. "I think they should stay with me, Marcus. I'm their primary caregiver. You work long hours. You travel for work sometimes. It just makes sense." And there it was. The first move in her strategy. Establish herself as the primary parent, position Marcus as the absent father. "I see," Marcus said quietly. "And what about the house?" "We will need to work that out," Jennifer replied. "Maybe I could buy you out or we could sell it and split the proceeds. I've not figured out all the details yet." Another lie. She had figured out every detail with Pemberton's help. She wanted the house, and she wanted Marcus to pay for her to keep it. "This is a lot to process," Marcus said finally. "Can I have some time to think about it?" "Of course," Jennifer replied, reaching across the table to touch his hand. "I don't want this to be ugly, Marcus. I want us to be mature about it for the kids' sake." He looked down at her hand on his, the wedding ring still on her finger, and felt nothing but cold certainty. 2 weeks later, Marcus came home from work early. He had told Jennifer he would be working late, but he had actually taken the afternoon off. When he walked into the house, he heard voices upstairs, laughing. Jennifer's voice and a man's voice he recognized from the few times he had seen. Derek at the gym parking lot. Marcus stood in the hallway listening to his wife with her lover in the house he paid for, in the bed he slept in. Part of him wanted to charge upstairs, to confront them, to make a scene, but he had come too far to lose control now. Instead, he quietly pulled out his phone and called Ray Martinez. Within 20 minutes, Ray was outside with a camera, documenting Derek's car in the driveway. The time, the date. When Derek finally left 2 hours later, Ray captured him walking out, adjusting his shirt. Jennifer in the doorway in her robe, kissing him goodbye. It was more evidence for the pile, more proof of what Jennifer thought Marcus was too stupid to see. That night, Marcus slept in the guest room, claiming his back hurt. Jennifer did not question it. She was too busy texting Derek, probably reliving their afternoon together. And Marcus lay awake in the dark, counting down the days until Jennifer would make her move. He did not have to wait long. 3 weeks later, on a gray Monday morning in February, Jennifer sat him down again. This time, her expression was different. Harder. More determined. "Oh, Marcus, I have filed for divorce," she said without preamble. "My attorney will be serving you papers. I wanted you to hear it from me first." He stared at her, letting shock register on his face. Shock he did not actually feel, but knew he needed to show. "You filed? Without even trying counseling? Or we are past that," Jennifer interrupted. "I have tried to make this work for years, and you have been completely checked out. I have journal entries, Marcus. Years of them, documenting your emotional absence, your neglect. I have witnesses who will testify to what I have gone through." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. This was the narrative she had crafted, polished, prepared. He was the villain. She was the victim. And now she was ready to perform her role for the court. "What about the kids?" he asked, his voice low. "They will stay with me," Jennifer said firmly. "You can have visitation, of course. I am their primary parent. I am the one who has been here for them while you buried yourself in work and the house." "I will keep the house," Jennifer replied. "It is their home. I won't uproot them because you refuse to be present in this marriage." She had it all planned out. Everything Pemberton had coached her on, delivered with just the right mix of sadness and righteous anger. "I cannot believe this," Marcus said quietly. "After everything." "After everything?" Jennifer's voice rose slightly. "After everything I have sacrificed, I gave up my career for this family. I have spent years taking care of everyone but myself. And you have the nerve to act surprised?" "I thought we were going to work through this," Marcus replied, maintaining his role. "There is nothing to work through," Jennifer said coldly. "My attorney will be in touch. I suggest you get your own. You're going to need one." leaving Marcus sitting alone at the kitchen table. The performance had been flawless. But Jennifer had made one critical mistake in all her planning. She had underestimated her husband. And in 4 days, when Richard Pemberton showed up at Marcus's office to serve those papers, he would walk out with an envelope that would unravel everything Jennifer and her expensive attorney had built. The Monday morning service at Marcus's office had been humiliating, exactly as Jennifer intended. But Marcus had expected it. Angela had even predicted Pemberton would choose a public venue. "He wants to rattle you," she had said. "Make you emotional, make you act without thinking. Don't give him that satisfaction." So Marcus had remained calm, had handed over his envelope, had apologized to his colleagues and left. What happened next took place behind closed doors in Richard Pemberton's corner office downtown. The lawyer arrived back from Marcus's workplace feeling confident, almost triumphant. The service had gone exactly as planned. He had humiliated the husband in front of his colleagues, established Jennifer as the serious party with legal representation, and made Marcus look small. He tossed the manila folder on his desk and pulled out the white envelope Marcus had given him. Probably some kind of counteroffer, he thought. It's maybe a desperate plea to reconsider, or threats about fighting for custody. He had seen it all before. Pemberton opened the envelope and pulled out the contents. The first thing he saw was a photograph. Jennifer and Derek kissing outside a restaurant. Timestamp in the corner. 6 months earlier. His confident smile faltered. He pulled out the next item. Another photograph. Jennifer and Derek entering a hotel. Timestamp. 2 weeks before she filed for divorce. Pemberton's hands suddenly felt cold. There were more photographs. Dozens of them. Jennifer and Derek at different locations, different dates, all time-stamped, all clearly showing an ongoing intimate relationship. But that was just the beginning. Behind the photographs were bank statements, a separate account in Jennifer's name that Pemberton had not known about, $43,000 moved in small increments over 8 months, all from the joint accounts she shared with Marcus. Then came printouts of emails. Jennifer's emails to Pemberton himself, outlining their strategy, or journal entries. The timeline they had discussed. Everything. But the document that made Pemberton's stomach drop was near the bottom of the stack. It was a deposition notice for Rachel Martinez, Derek's wife. She had provided sworn testimony about her husband's affair with Jennifer, including text messages and credit card statements. The final item in the envelope was a single-page letter on Angela Torres's law firm letterhead. "Mr. Pemberton, my client, Marcus Webb, has provided you with evidence that we believe will be relevant to the divorce proceedings your client has initiated. As you can see, Mrs. Webb has engaged in an extramarital affair for over 18 months. She has also systematically moved marital assets into a secret account without her husband's knowledge or consent. Furthermore, we have evidence that Mrs. Webb, with your guidance, has created a deliberately false narrative of emotional abuse and neglect. Her journal entries, which she plans to submit as evidence, are contradicted by credit card records, text messages, and witness statements showing that she was frequently absent from the home for reasons she misrepresented to her husband. My client is willing to discuss a fair and equitable dissolution of the marriage. However, if your client insists on pursuing the aggressive strategy outlined in your emails to her, we'll present all of this evidence in court. We will also file a motion for sanctions based on the coordinated attempt to deceive the court and manipulate proceedings. I trust you will advise your client accordingly. Regards, Angela Torres, Esquire." Pemberton sat in his chair, the documents spread across his desk like evidence of his own professional failure. He had been outmaneuvered completely. Everything he and Jennifer had built, every strategy they had planned, was now exposed. Worse, his own emails were in the pile. Advice he had given Jennifer about timing, about moving money, about building a false narrative. Any of it could be construed as coaching a client to deceive the court, which could cost him his license. He reached for his phone and dialed Jennifer's number with shaking fingers. She answered on the second ring, her voice cheerful. "Richard, did you serve him? How did it go?" "We need to meet," Pemberton said, his voice flat. "Right now, my office." "What's wrong?" Jennifer asked, alarm creeping into her tone. "Just get here," Pemberton replied. "We have a serious problem." An hour later, Jennifer sat across from Pemberton in his office, her face pale as she looked through the contents of the envelope. "How?" she whispered. "How did he?" He knew, Pemberton said heavily. He has known for months, maybe longer. And he documented everything. The affair, the bank account, your emails to me. All of it. Jennifer's hands trembled as she set down a photograph of herself and Derek. This cannot be real. This cannot be happening. It is happening, Pemberton replied. And we have two choices. We can try to proceed with the original filing, in which case all of this goes in front of a judge, or we can negotiate a settlement. Jennifer looked up, her eyes wet. I filed for divorce. I am the one who you committed adultery, Pemberton interrupted. You moved marital assets without disclosure. You created false evidence. Jennifer, if we go to trial with this, you will not get the house. You will not get primary custody. You might not even get alimony. In fact, Marcus could make a case that you should pay him. Jennifer's face crumpled. But Derek said we would be together. He said he was leaving his wife. Pemberton looked at her with something close to pity. Does he know that Rachel gave a deposition? That his wife provided evidence against him? Jennifer blinked. What? Derek's wife knows about the affair, Pemberton explained. She has been working with Marcus's attorney. She provided text messages, credit card statements, everything. Your boyfriend is going to have his own divorce to deal with, and I doubt he's going to be in a position to start a new life with anyone. Everything she had planned, everything she had risked, was collapsing. Derek had lied to her. Marcus had outsmarted her. And the divorce she thought would give her freedom was about to destroy her instead. What do I do? She asked, her voice small. Pemberton sighed. You call Marcus? You apologize? You negotiate a fair settlement? You hope he is feeling generous? And if he is not? Then we go to court, Pemberton said quietly. And you lose everything. Jennifer left Pemberton's office 2 hours later with a new reality settling over her like a heavy cloak. The confident woman who had filed for divorce 3 weeks earlier was gone, replaced by someone who suddenly understood how badly she had miscalculated. She sat in her car in the parking garage, staring at her phone. Derek had not answered her calls all day. She tried him again. It went straight to voicemail. Finally, she pulled up Marcus's number. Her thumb hovered over the call button. Pride told her not to do it, to fight this somehow. But reality told her she had no other option. She pressed call. Marcus answered on the third ring. Hello, Jennifer. His voice was calm, neutral. It made her want to scream. I got your envelope, she said. I assumed you would. There was a long silence. Finally, Jennifer spoke, her voice cracking. Why did you let me do this, Marcus? Why didn't you just confront me? Because I needed to know how far you would go, Marcus replied. I needed to see if you would stop, if you would come clean. But you didn't. You were going to destroy my reputation, take my kids, and financially ruin me. All while pretending to be the victim. Jennifer wiped at her eyes. I was unhappy. So was I, Marcus said. But I did not have an affair. I did not move money into secret accounts. I did not work with an attorney to build a false case against you. What do you want? Jennifer asked, her voice barely a whisper. I want the truth in court, Marcus replied. I want the judge to see what you really did, not the story you and Pemberton created. Please, Jennifer said, desperation rising. Please, Marcus. Think about the kids. If this goes to trial, everything will come out. They will hear about it. Their friends will know. Is that what you want? It was a low blow, using the children as leverage. But Jennifer was drowning, and she was grasping for anything. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Angela will send over settlement terms. If you agree to them, we can keep this private. If you fight, everything goes on the record. What are the terms? Jennifer asked. Fair ones, Marcus replied. We split the assets evenly. Share custody 50-50, no alimony. You admit the affair on the record, but we seal the court documents. Jennifer closed her eyes. It was more than she deserved, and she knew it. But what? Derek? She began, then stopped. She did not even know how to finish that sentence. Derek lied to you, Marcus said, not unkindly. He is married. His wife is filing for divorce too. Whatever you thought you had with him, it is gone. Jennifer felt something break inside her. She had thrown away her marriage, her integrity, her relationship with her kids, all for a man who had been lying to her the entire time. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know, Marcus replied, But sorry does not fix this. You made choices, Jennifer. Now you have to live with them." He hung up. Jennifer sat alone in her car, the phone still pressed to her ear, and finally let herself cry. Not the careful tears she had practiced for her victim narrative, but real tears of genuine regret and loss. She had gambled everything on a plan that had blown up in her face. Now she was left with nothing but the consequences of her own deception. 3 weeks later, Marcus sat in Angela Torres's office, signing the final settlement documents. The agreement was straightforward. It would sell the house and split the proceeds. Custody of Ethan and Sophia would be joint, with the kids alternating weeks between parents. The retirement accounts and savings would be divided equally. No alimony for either party. Jennifer would admit to the affair in a sealed filing, acknowledging that the marriage had ended due to her infidelity. The judge would see the truth, but it would not become public record. It was fair. More fair than Jennifer deserved, Angela had said. But Marcus wanted it over. He wanted to move forward. "How do you feel?" Angela asked as he finished signing the last page. Marcus set down the pen and thought about the question. "Relieved mostly, and sad. Not for Jennifer, but for what I thought we had." "That is normal," Angela replied. "Even when marriages end badly, there is still grief for what you hoped it would be." Marcus nodded. "What about her? What happens to Jennifer now?" Angela shrugged. "She will get a job, I imagine. Figure out her new life. Derek's divorce is proceeding, and from what I hear, it is not going well for him either. His wife took him for everything." "Good," Marcus said quietly. There was a knock on the door, and Angela's assistant poked her head in. "Mr. Webb, your kids are here." Marcus stood, gathering his documents. Ethan and Sophia were waiting in the lobby with his mother, who had been watching them during the meeting. They looked up when he came out, their faces brightening. "Dad?" Sophia ran over and hugged him. "Are we still getting pizza tonight?" "Absolutely," Marcus said, lifting her up. "And ice cream after." Ethan approached more cautiously. He was older, more aware of what was happening. "Are you okay, Dad?" Marcus looked at his son, seeing the worry in his eyes, the way he was trying to be brave. "I'm okay, buddy. Everything's going to be okay." And he meant it. Not because the divorce was easy, or because the betrayal did not hurt, but because he had fought for the truth. He had not let Jennifer's lies define him. He had protected his relationship with his kids. As they walked out of the building into the afternoon sunlight, Sophia chattering about school, and Ethan asking about their plans for the weekend, Marcus felt something he had not felt in years. Peace. The lies were over. The game was finished. While his marriage had ended in betrayal, he had not lost himself in the process. Jennifer had tried to destroy him. But in the end, she had only destroyed herself. And Marcus, despite everything, had survived. 6 months passed. The house sold quickly. A young couple with a baby bought it, excited about the neighborhood and the schools. Marcus found a 3-bedroom apartment 15 minutes away, close enough that the kids could bike to their friends' houses on his weeks. Ethan and Sophia adjusted better than he expected. "Kids are resilient," his therapist said. "As long as they feel loved and secure, they will be okay." Marcus threw himself into being present in a way he had not been during the last years of his marriage. He coached Ethan's soccer team again. He took Sophia to her dance recitals. He made dinner every night, helped with homework, read bedtime stories. On the weeks they were with Jennifer, he focused on work and started seeing the therapist Angela had recommended. It helped, talking through the betrayal, processing the anger and hurt. Jennifer moved to a smaller apartment across town. She got a job back in marketing, a junior position that was a step down from where she had been years before. She saw the kids every other week, and from what Marcus could tell, she was trying to rebuild her relationship with them. They never spoke beyond logistics. Pickup times, school events, medical appointments. Their communication was courteous but distant, the way former business partners might interact. Derek was not part of Jennifer's life anymore. His divorce had been brutal, his wife taking the house and primary custody of his kids. Last Marcus heard, Derek had moved to another state, starting over somewhere no one knew his story. And Jennifer, despite everything, was alone. The friends she had confided in, the ones who had been prepared to testify about Marcus's neglect, had distanced themselves once the truth came out. Turns out people do not appreciate being used as props in someone else's lie. One Saturday afternoon in October, almost a year after the divorce was finalized, Marcus was at Ethan's soccer game when he saw Jennifer arrive. She stood on the opposite side of the field, watching the game alone. Her arms wrapped around herself against the autumn chill. For a moment, Marcus felt something unexpected. Not forgiveness exactly, but a kind of detached sympathy. Jennifer had destroyed her own life, chasing something that was never real, and now she was living with those consequences. After the game, as parents and kids gathered for post-game snacks, Jennifer approached Marcus. It was the first time they had been face-to-face in months. "He played well," she said quietly, nodding toward Ethan, who was celebrating with his teammates. "He did," Marcus agreed. They stood in awkward silence for a moment. Finally, Jennifer spoke. "Marcus, I wanted to say again that I am sorry. For all of it? I know sorry is not enough, but you are right," Marcus interrupted gently. "It is not enough. But I appreciate you saying it." Jennifer nodded, blinking back tears. "I threw everything away, for nothing, and I will never forgive myself for that." "You need to forgive yourself," Marcus replied. "Not for me, but for the kids. They need a mother who is present, not someone drowning in regret." It was more kindness than she deserved, and they both knew it. "I am trying," Jennifer whispered. "I'm really trying to be better." "Then keep trying," Marcus said. "That is all any of us can do." He walked away then, back to where Ethan and Sophia were laughing with their friends, their faces bright with joy. His kids, his life, the things that mattered. Jennifer had tried to take it all from him, but she had failed. And as Marcus drove home that evening, kids in the back seat arguing about what movie to watch, he realized something profound. He had one. Not because he had destroyed Jennifer, but because he had protected what mattered most. His relationship with his children, his integrity, his sense of self. The envelope he had handed Richard Pemberton that day in the conference room had not just destroyed Jennifer's case, it had saved Marcus's life. And that was a victory worth far more than revenge ever could be. 2 years after the divorce, Marcus met someone new. Her name was Sarah. She taught English at the high school Ethan would attend in a few years. They met at a school fundraiser, started talking about books, and discovered they had more in common than just literature. Sarah knew about the divorce, knew the broad strokes of what had happened. Marcus told her everything on their 4th date, sitting across from her at a quiet restaurant, watching her face for judgment. She listened without interrupting, and when he finished, she reached across the table and took his hand. "That must have been terrible," she said simply. "I am sorry you went through that." No pity, no shock, just quiet empathy. It was exactly what Marcus needed. They took things slowly. Marcus introduced her to the kids after 6 months, a casual meet at a park that went better than he hoped. Sophia liked her immediately. Ethan was more reserved, protective of his father, but gradually warmed up. Jennifer was civil when she found out Marcus was seeing someone. She did not make trouble. She did not try to turn the kids against Sarah. Maybe she had finally learned something from the disaster she had created. Or maybe she was just tired of fighting. 3 years after the divorce, on a warm Saturday in June, Marcus and Sarah got married in a small ceremony at a botanical garden. Ethan was his best man. Sophia was the flower girl. Jennifer was not invited, and Marcus felt no guilt about that. Some wounds heal, some do not. But life moves forward either way. As Marcus stood at the altar, watching Sarah walk toward him, he thought about that Monday morning in the conference room, Richard Pemberton's smug face, the manila folder full of lies, the white envelope that had changed everything. He had been prepared for the worst moment of his life and had turned it into the beginning of something better. That was the real victory, not the courtroom vindication or Jennifer's public humiliation. It was this moment, surrounded by people who loved him, marrying someone who saw him clearly and chose him anyway. The divorce had not destroyed Marcus. It had freed him. And as he said his vows to Sarah, with his kids standing beside him and his future stretching out bright and full of possibility, Marcus Webb finally let go of the past. Jennifer had tried to write his ending, but Marcus had written his own, and it was better than anything she could have imagined. 5 years after the divorce, Marcus rarely thought about that time in his life. It receded into memory, something that had happened to a different version of himself. He and Sarah had built a good life together. She moved into a house they bought together, a place with no history, no ghosts from past marriages. The kids thrived. Ethan was in high school now, confident and happy. Sophia was in middle school, still dancing, still bright and talkative. Jennifer had become a peripheral figure in their lives. She showed up for school events, exchanged polite greetings, stayed for the appropriate amount of time, then left. She never remarried. From what Marcus heard through the kids, she focused on her work and lived quietly. He did not hate her anymore. Hate required energy, required attention, and Marcus had better things to do with both. One afternoon, Marcus was cleaning out the garage when he came across a box he had not opened in years. Inside were papers from the divorce, legal documents, settlement agreements, old emails from Angela Torres. At the very bottom was the envelope. The one he had prepared for Richard Pemberton, the one that had contained all the evidence of Jennifer's betrayal. Marcus held it in his hands, remembering that Monday morning, the conference room. The looks on his colleagues' faces. The moment he handed this envelope to Pemberton, knowing it would change everything. Sarah found him there, sitting on the garage floor with the envelope in his lap. "What is that?" she asked gently. Marcus looked up at her, this woman who had helped him rebuild his life. "The beginning of the end," he said. "The end of the beginning. Should we keep it?" Marcus thought about that. He could hold on to it, keep the evidence of his vindication, a reminder of how he had won. Or he could let it go. He stood up and walked to the recycling bin. Without ceremony, without hesitation, he dropped the envelope inside. "Done with that chapter," he said. Sarah smiled and took his hand. "Good. Let's go make dinner. The kids will be home soon." As they walked back into the house, Marcus felt lighter somehow. The past was finally past. He had carried the truth long enough. He had protected himself and his children. He had rebuilt his life. Now it was time to simply live it. That evening, as they sat around the dinner table, Ethan telling a funny story about basketball practice and Sophia showing them a drawing she had made, Marcus looked at his family and felt something profound. Gratitude, not for the divorce, not for the betrayal, but for surviving it. For being strong enough to face the truth and smart enough to prepare for war. For being the kind of man who could hand an envelope to his enemy and watch their carefully constructed lies collapse. Jennifer had tried to destroy him with papers served at work, public humiliation, with a year's worth of strategic planning, but Marcus had destroyed her case with truth, just truth. And in the end, that had been more powerful than any lie. The conference room confrontation had been the beginning of Jennifer's downfall. The envelope had been her ending, and Marcus's new beginning. Years later, when people asked him about that time, Marcus kept his answer simple. "I protected what mattered. I fought for the truth, and I survived. That was all anyone really needed to know. The rest, the details of betrayal and vindication. The photographs and bank statements and courtroom victories, those belonged to a different time. A different Marcus. This Marcus, the one sitting at the dinner table with his wife and kids. Laughing at Ethan's stories and admiring Sophia's art, this Marcus was whole. And that was the greatest victory of all. The envelope he had handed Richard Pemberton had not just destroyed Jennifer's divorce case, it had saved Marcus Webb's life. And in the end, that was all that mattered. The story of a marriage that ended in lies, and a man who refused to let those lies define him. The story of preparation, meeting opportunity, of patience rewarded, of truth prevailing over deception. The story of an envelope that changed everything. And a man who came out the other side stronger, wiser, and finally free. This is how Marcus Webb's story ended. It's not with bitterness or revenge, but with peace. And that, more than any courtroom victory, was what Jennifer could never take from him. She had tried to write his ending, but Marcus had written his own. It was beautiful.